So what would I say to someone who is blaming everything and everyone else for why their life isn't how they want it? Great question. I guess when we look at it, it is about taking personal responsibility for where we're at. And in my circumstance, it got to a point where I had to draw a line in the sand and say, all these things did happen to me as a young child. I can't change that did happen. But what I could do now is actually draw that line in the sand and take responsibility for my actions, my behaviour, my results now. Because you see, I was amazingly good at blaming someone else. Oh, my life isn't how I want it because of what they did to me. You know, I experienced physical, sexual, emotional abuse. That's why my life isn't how I want it. It's all their fault that I can't do what I want. When I drew that line in the sand, I knew then that it's up to me. Yes, that all happened. I can't change it. But if I kept pushing away my responsibility or my behaviours or my actions outside of myself, I couldn't do anything about it. So by taking it on board and saying, it's up to me now, I know that I can choose how I react. I know that I can choose how I behave. I know I can choose what results and what action to take to get the results that I want in my life. And I guess that's where it's probably one of the most difficult concepts of NLP to take on board, because it's so much easier to blame somebody else. But what we've got to look at is, you think about in the circumstance that we've experienced, you know, people will blame the government for their business going under. But then why is it that so many other businesses survived and thrived even? So it is about us being able to take on that responsibility and knowing that we've got to take it on board. It's up to us to make those decisions. I guess I'll put it another way. If we constantly point the finger at someone and say, they make me feel this way, or they make me feel that way, or it's because of them that I can't run my business, or, you know, it's because I haven't got enough money to do things, whatever it might be, there's two things there. One of them is knowing that nobody can make you feel anything. What you feel inside is a choice that you make. No one can push our buttons. We ourselves are pushing our buttons because that's an internal job. Agreed that they may do stuff that could be upsetting, absolutely. But ultimately, we still get the opportunity to choose what we do with that information or how we react or respond to that information. One of my favourite books is Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. And in there, and I'll paraphrase, he says that between stimulus and response, which between when something happens or someone says something and the way that we respond to it, there is a gap in time. And in that gap lay our freedom. And to me, that means, yes, these people can be saying things can be happening around us, but before we actually formulate a response, we've got a moment to think about how we do want to respond. And ultimately, it gives us that opportunity to make a different decision. Because quite often we're running on autopilot, we'll react to something because that's how we've always done it. But if we give ourselves the opportunity to have that pause, it's like, you know, pressing the pause button, then it gives us that moment in time to have a think about how we do want to respond to that situation. And it's knowing that we have a multitude of responses to make at any one moment. It's not just that one that we're so used to making, because they call that automaticity. It's being on autopilot, but it's about becoming aware that that's what we're doing and being able to change that response. So I guess blaming someone else for where your life's at doesn't allow you to make any changes to it. By accepting that responsibility and knowing that, you know, it's up to you. You need to determine what action you want to take to get the results that you want. And if we can take that on board, taking on that responsibility, it gives us what I call the response ability.